Behind a tall iron gate in Oxfordshire, where the morning mist clings to the grass and ancient oaks whisper in the breeze, stands a home as timeless as the man who owns it. Sir Michael Caine, cinema legend, British icon, and the ultimate gentleman, has built more than a house here. He's built a legacy. But how did this lad from South London end up in a country estate fit for royalty? Today, we find out. Before the tuxedos, the Oscars, and the iconic voice recognized around the world, there was just Maurice Micklewhite, a boy from Southwark, born in 1933 in the heart of working-class London. His father was a fish market porter, his mother a charwoman. Their world was modest, ration books, communal toilets, bomb shelters during the Blitz, but it was real, grounded, and fiercely proud. During World War II, little Maurice was evacuated to Norfolk. There, far from home and the chaos of war, something unexpected happened. He stepped onto a village stage, just a small school play, a costume, a laugh from the crowd. But it was enough. Enough to plant the idea. Maybe he could make people feel something. After the war, the family was resettled in a prefab house in Elephant and Castle. It was basic, built by the government as temporary housing, but to Maurice, it was luxury. He often said, "We had space. We had a roof." After all we'd been through, it was everything. He left school at 16 and floated through odd jobs, film runner, messenger, file clerk, but the stage kept calling. With no training, no connections, and barely enough money for bus fare, he began acting in local theater. His early years? Brutal. 9 years of being broke, ignored, forgotten. He played drunks, villains, background extras. He even changed his name from Michael Scott to Michael Caine after spotting the Caine mutiny playing at Leicester Square. It was a leap of faith, and eventually, faith rewarded him. Then came Zulu. Then the Ipcress File. And then Alfie, the film that made him a star overnight. He wasn't just acting anymore. He was reshaping the very idea of what a British leading man could be. No posh accent, no royal training, just raw charm, wit, and a Cockney bite that made him unforgettable. What followed was a dazzling run. The Italian Job, Get Carter, Sleuth, The Man Who Would Be King. From Hollywood hits to British classics, he moved through decades like a master chameleon, always relevant, always watchable. He played spies, thieves, professors, and butlers, even Ebenezer Scrooge alongside the Muppets. And in each performance, something of Maurice always remained. The grit, the cheek, the twinkle in the eye. But Michael Caine wasn't just a star. He was a survivor, a hustler, a man who worked, saved, invested. He bought houses, chose scripts wisely, and never stopped growing. He became Alfred in The Dark Knight, the professor in Interstellar, and a mentor in Inception. Always present, always sharp, even in his 80s. And as the spotlight slowly began to dim, he didn't fight it. He simply stepped back, into the gardens of Oxfordshire, into the quiet life of a man who had already lived 100 stories. So what does the home of such a man look like? Let's open the gate and find out. Country retreat in Oxfordshire. Follow the winding road past sleepy hedgerows and wildflowers, and you'll arrive at one of the most elegant country estates in all of Oxfordshire. Sir Michael Caine's $13 million manor, a sanctuary carved from stone, tradition, and the gentle rhythm of the English countryside. The moment you arrive, the world seems to hush. A pair of tall, wrought iron gates swing open to reveal a sweeping driveway flanked by manicured lawns and century-old trees. The gravel crunches softly beneath your tires as the house comes into view. A stately blend of Georgian and Tudor charm, wrapped in honey-colored brick and topped with a time-worn slate roof. It's not just a house, it's a storybook. one where history breathes through every window pane and the air smells of roses, damp earth, and something older than memory. The front door is solid oak, with wrought iron details that speak of craftsmanship from another era. Step inside and you're met with warmth, not the kind made by central heating, but by old stone, thick rugs, and firelight flickering against hand-plastered walls. The grand foyer sets the tone. Vaulted ceilings with exposed wooden beams, soft golden lighting, and a quiet dignity that whispers, "You're welcome here, but tread gently." To the left, a drawing room wrapped in oak panels and overflowing with books. A roaring fireplace commands one end, while soft leather armchairs, clearly well-loved, form a quiet circle around a low coffee table. One can imagine Caine here in the early evening, sipping tea, reading a script, or just watching the clouds shift through tall windows. The kitchen is classic English country. Wide flagstone floors, deep farmhouse sinks, and cabinetry in muted tones of sage and cream. The countertops are solid oak, polished smooth by decades of use. Copper pots hang above a traditional AGA cooker, and the scent of fresh bread sometimes lingers. Baked, perhaps, not by the actor, but certainly for the man who values life's simpler pleasures. Connected to the kitchen is a formal dining room. Long wooden table, high-backed chairs, and a chandelier of wrought iron and crystal. The walls are lined with black and white photographs, moments from film sets, red carpets, and quiet afternoons frozen in time. The master suite upstairs is a haven in itself. Soft linens in pale cream, windows that frame the rolling hills, and a private reading nook tucked beside a bay window. The ensuite bathroom is clad in marble, with a deep soaking tub, rain shower, and vintage fixtures that add character without compromise. And then there are the personal touches. A watercolor painting gifted by a fellow actor, a signed script from The Dark Knight, a quiet photo of Michael and Shakira on a Parisian street. The home doesn't scream wealth, it breathes it. Elsewhere, you'll find a private cinema room with plush velvet seats and walls lined with posters from Caine's most legendary films. A discreet gym, outfitted for wellness, not vanity, sits beside a cozy study, where a vintage typewriter rests beneath a framed quote, "Be like a duck." Calm on the surface, but paddling like hell underneath. Step outside, and the estate expands like a dream. The rear garden unfolds into terraces of stone, flower beds in full bloom, and a pond where koi drift in silence. There's a hidden bench beneath a weeping willow, a pergola wrapped in vines, and walking paths that meander through wildflower meadows, lavender bushes, and fruit trees. This isn't just land, it's sanctuary. And that's the secret. This house isn't grand because it's big. It's grand because it's lived in, loved. Designed not for show, but for staying. For retiring not from life, but into it. For Sir Michael Caine, this Oxfordshire manor isn't just a country home. It's a reward. A place where, after a lifetime of cameras and applause, he can finally sit in silence, hear the birds' song, and know he's exactly where he belongs. But for a man who once danced with Bob Fosse and swapped lines with Laurence Olivier, a single home was never enough. Let's fly across the Atlantic to his coastal escape in Miami Beach. Apartment in Miami. Now imagine trading English ivy and cobblestone paths for palm trees, sea breeze, and sunrise over the Atlantic. Welcome to Sir Michael Caine's former Miami Beach sanctuary. A $7 million waterfront apartment nestled in one of Florida's most prestigious high-rise residences. Perched high above the city's shimmering coastline, this four-bedroom condo in the exclusive Apogee complex was once his sunlit escape. A world away from London fog and Oxfordshire stillness. But why Miami? The answer lies in simplicity, warmth, anonymity, and the gentle rhythm of ocean waves. For Caine, who spent decades under bright spotlights and velvet ropes, this place offered something rare: freedom. Step through the private elevator, and you're greeted by a panorama of glass and light. Floor-to-ceiling windows stretch across the entire residence, framing uninterrupted views of Biscayne Bay and the endless horizon beyond. Here, the ocean isn't just a view, it's a companion. The open-plan living room flows effortlessly into the dining area and kitchen, a gallery of clean lines, muted colors, and minimalist elegance. The floors? Pale hardwood, cool underfoot. The decor? Tasteful but unassuming. Earth tones, soft leather, modern sculptures, and curated art that hints at decades of global travel. This is not a place for loud statements. It's a home for silence, space, and light. The kitchen gleams with stainless steel, quartz countertops, and hidden cabinets. Functional, yet sophisticated. You can almost imagine Michael, coffee in hand, looking out to sea while reading the headlines or chatting with Shakira over breakfast. Each bedroom is a retreat of its own, especially the master suite, with its sweeping water views, calming palette of whites and blues, and a walk-in closet as discreet as it is elegant. The ensuite bathroom? Spa-like. Marble floors, soaking tub, rain shower, and floor-to-ceiling windows that let you bathe in sunlight or moonlight. But what made this apartment truly special wasn't just the interiors, it was the lifestyle. A massive wraparound balcony offered outdoor living at its finest. Plush lounges, dining under the stars, and the soundtrack of the ocean humming in the background. Downstairs, the building itself provided 24/7 security, valet service, a private spa, fitness center, and an oceanfront pool, all with the discretion celebrities so deeply crave. For Caine, this apartment was never about excess. It was about ease. A place to recharge between film shoots. A place to host family, friends, or perhaps even fellow legends over a quiet dinner. A place to disappear, not from the world, but into it, on his own terms. Eventually, he sold the condo, moving full-time back to England. But echoes of that Miami life, warm days, quiet mornings, and endless blue, remain part of his story. 2 homes, 2 hemispheres. But how does a man build such a life? Not just of comfort, but of quiet elegance. Let's turn the page and follow the money. Sir Michael Caine's net worth is estimated at $60 million, a testament not to extravagance, but to endurance. Unlike the splashy fortunes of modern-day celebrities, his wealth was built slowly, one iconic role at a time, across more than 7 decades of cinema. His biggest earnings didn't come from just one blockbuster. Instead, they came from consistency, the kind only true professionals understand. Early hits like Alfie, The Italian Job, and Get Carter established him as a transatlantic draw. By the time he filmed Educating Rita in 1983, he was commanding 7-figure salaries and earning awards along the way. But even when he accepted lesser roles, he once quipped that Jaws, The Revenge was terrible, but the house it built was fantastic. Every paycheck was part of a longer game: security, investment, longevity. The real game changer? Christopher Nolan. His role as Alfred in the Dark Knight trilogy brought not only critical acclaim, but residual income from one of the most lucrative franchises in cinema history. Films like Inception, Interstellar, and Tenet, where he played pivotal roles, further deepened his royalties, reputation, and reach to new generations. But Caine wasn't just acting. He was investing. He quietly acquired prime real estate, from his luxurious condo in Miami to countryside estates in Surrey, Berkshire, and Oxfordshire. Even his homes were chosen with intention, places that held value, history, and heart. He also published 3 successful autobiographies, with steady royalties and speaking engagements adding to his quiet stream of income. Unlike many of his peers, Caine didn't launch perfumes, fashion lines, or chaotic brand deals. Instead, he let the work and the voice speak for itself. And perhaps most remarkably, he never lived like a mogul. He once said, "I never threw money around. I always remembered where I came from." Even at the peak of fame, he was the man who shopped for his own groceries, invested in simple pleasures, and made sure every pound was earned with dignity. Today, that $60 million fortune doesn't scream. It rests in English gardens, in elegant interiors, in the calm, measured life of a man who mastered both fame and finance. But what does a gentleman do with all that success when the cameras stop rolling? If you're Sir Michael Caine, you give it back, quietly, generously, from the heart. Let's take a look. Philanthropy. For Sir Michael Caine, giving was never about the spotlight. It was about responsibility. The quiet kind that comes from having once known what it felt like to go without. He didn't grow up with luxury. He grew up with war sirens and ration cards. So when success found him, he never forgot the children who still faced the mornings with empty stomachs or uncertain futures. One of the causes closest to his heart is Magic Breakfast, a UK-based organization that provides school children with a nutritious meal at the start of their day. To Michael, it was simple. No child should have to learn on an empty stomach. His voice gave weight to their mission, and his support gave countless children a better chance at life. But he didn't stop there. He also lent his name and presence to NSPCC, the National Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, and served as a patron for the Foresters Fund for Children, organizations committed to protecting the vulnerable. He didn't just sign checks. He attended galas, told stories, and reminded the public that real heroes are often the ones who speak when no one else does. Internationally, Caine took to the stage at the Nobel Peace Concert in 2008, co-hosting a tribute to peacemaker Marty Ahtisaari. It was a moment that reflected not only his global fame, but his belief in using that fame for something greater. His support also extended to health causes, like the Elton John AIDS Foundation, Barbara Davis Center for Childhood Diabetes, and 21st Century Leaders, which blends celebrity influence with sustainability and ethical change. And yet, for all his generosity, he never turned it into a performance. There were no reality shows, no tearful PR campaigns, just the steady work of a man who knew he could make a difference and chose to. Even in his final active years, he continued to advocate for those whose voices were softer than his own. For Caine, charity wasn't a chapter. It was a through line, woven into his career, his character, and the way he moved through the world. He once said, "You get to a point in life where the best thing you can do with your time is give it." And so he did, over and over again. But who is the man behind the voice? When the lights go down, the scripts are put away, and the stage is empty? Let's step now into the most personal part of his story, the life he's built off-screen, at home, in peace, personal life. In the final act of his extraordinary life, Sir Michael Caine doesn't live like a movie star. He lives like a gentleman, quietly, deliberately, and surrounded by the things that truly matter. Today, his time is split between Chelsea Harbour and the rolling hills of Oxfordshire, where his manor offers shelter from a world that once pulled him in 100 directions. At 92, he no longer chases scripts or red carpets. He chases stillness, sunlight through the window, the sound of his wife's voice, the scent of lavender after the rain. His great love story began not at a Hollywood party, but in front of a television. In the early 1970s, he saw a young woman in a Maxwell House coffee commercial and was instantly captivated. That woman was Shakira Baksh, a Guyanese-born actress and model. Caine didn't just admire from afar. He asked a friend to find her. He called every day for 10 days until she finally agreed to meet him. And when they met, that was it. They married in 1973 and have been inseparable ever since, a partnership built not on publicity, but on peace. Together, they raised a daughter, Natasha, and built a world grounded in faith, respect, and quiet laughter. In interviews, Caine speaks of Shakira with the kind of reverence usually reserved for poetry. "She saved me," he once said, "from drinking too much, from losing my way. She gave me a life." Their relationship is rooted in difference. He's a British Christian. She's a Muslim from the Caribbean, but never in division. In his own words, "She does her thing, I do mine, and love bridges the rest." Family, for Caine, extends beyond blood. It lives in old friendships, like his bonds with Sean Connery, Roger Moore, and even John Lennon, with whom he shared both a working-class origin and a wry sense of humor. These days, his joys are simpler. Gardening, reading, walking the same paths near his home where birdsong outplays applause. He writes, he reflects, and above all, he remains deeply present in his home, in his marriage, and in the legacy he's chosen to live, not just leave behind. He's also a grandfather now, and in that role, he finds something new, a gentleness beyond performance, a kind of peace that no award could ever match. And when he finally announced his retirement in October 2023, after the critical success of The Great Escaper, it wasn't a swan song, it was a graceful bow. "I've done what I wanted," he said. "I've said what I needed. Now, it's time to live." And live he does. Not as Maurice Micklewhite, the boy who once played a drunken father in a school play, not even as Sir Michael Caine, the icon of cinema, but simply as Michael, a man at home, in love, in balance. And now, as we step away from the lights and into the quiet corridors of his Oxfordshire retreat, one question lingers. What does it truly mean to live a life well acted, and even better lived? From the smoky stages of post-war London to the still gardens of Oxfordshire, Sir Michael Caine's life has been nothing short of extraordinary. But beyond the awards and applause, it's his grace, generosity, and quiet wisdom that endure. If this journey through his world moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. There are more stories and more legends waiting behind the next gate.